All right, welcome back to GM Worldwide Radio, where we are presented by Street Smart Society. If you'd like to get any graphic arts, CD covers, we got other cool stuff like video editing, photography, whatnot. But today is Who in What. So we got two Who's. So we have Charley, Massey, and Mosley.
Hey.
So we got a fun crowd for today, and Jordan's all the way there, not in the screen, but you'll see him in a second. But we're here. So we're all here. We're all having fun, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to get this in. All right. So you find this place pretty easy?
Yeah, man. It's like 8 minutes away from where we live. I'm in Bloomfield.
Oh, okay.
Actually close. Yeah. This is location. So first and foremost, introduce yourselves. Let them know what y'all from and where y'all from and where y'all up and coming stuff real quick.
All right, well, my name is Mosley. You know what I'm saying? You can find me on my social networking. It's almost everything is /Mosley from Facebook to Instagram. But I make music. I'm from New Kensington. I currently reside in Bloomfield. I think I'm probably going to be transplanting to Arizona soon, so we'll see how that goes. But
what's up? Got the interview before you left.
It was perfect timing, honestly. But I sing. We both rap, obviously. We both do production. I play guitar and I play piano. And I feel like there's a baritone ukulele. That was how I got into guitar. So.
Okay.
There's questions about that.
My name is Charley Massey. I as well come from New Kensington, reside over here in Bloomfield now, conveniently spaced away. I've been rapping since high school, and I pretty much started producing about 22, and I just eventually started going to school for that after a brief military service. Used that GI Bill and just been over here working with my brother since.
All right. The one thing I do want to bring up early is we have, for you, we probably have the footage of you and Charley Sloan getting together to make that 100 Roses.
Oh, that's dope.
We got like the video of them to the first interaction of even trying to get the song together. It's like we all dropped that. I was like, oh, that's cool shit. Because we were standing there when they first rapped about it.
Hey, shout out Charley Sloan for real. He turned that around real quick. He was like, I want a beat. I was like, oh yeah. And then I got a feeling, and I sent him the beat that I felt like he wanted, and that's what he said. And then, most people say that. They're like, oh yeah, I like this beat. But you really see how much they like it when they turn around with the song. And not only did he turn around with the song, but then he was like, oh yeah, and a day from now, we're shooting a video. And I was like, oh yeah, for what song? And he was like, this one. And I was like, oh shit, it's like that. So yeah, shout out Charley Sloan. He works really efficient.
Like I said, that was definitely cool. Definitely, I think y'all the first interview we've had after seeing somebody live too. Like I said, we've had a couple interviews with people that we've gone to see after the fact. Nice. But y'all definitely the first people we've actually plucked straight out of a concert.
Nice.
That's and shout out to y'all, man. The atmosphere that night was great. Y'all definitely control the stage perfectly.
Thank you.
Much appreciated.
I've been to a lot of shows in the city where it's just it's basically like, I would say a coffee lounge where we're eating food and there's people performing in the background. Yeah. People stopped what they was doing when y'all got up on stage.
Yeah, thank you.
So
appreciate that
for sure. So y'all both grew up in New Kensington. From I'm from Pittsburgh, but I have a lot of family in Aliquippa, so like I know that like Aliquippa's not like Pittsburgh, and I hear a lot of the same thing from people that come from New Kensington. It's like New Kensington, even though y'all outside of the city, is different.
It's definitely different, man. It's definitely different. I don't know if my New Kensington heads will like me saying this, but it's definitely, suburban to more like a metro area. So I feel like, and that's no disrespect, you know what I'm saying, but I definitely feel like there's a certain demeanor that you get from certain people depending on where they reside, sort of like a cultural thing. And New Kensington definitely isn't a part of the city in that regard, even though we're 30 minutes away.
Yeah.
So no, there is a difference.
2 hours away, you guys though.
Yeah. I know it's like 2 hours away from me, man. I'm in South Hills.
I'm sure that's different though too.
Saying that, New Kensington is one of the only 2 places in the county that has the University of Penn State. Has that ever like merged with y'all in there? Like, has there ever been issues with college kids?
I rarely really like seeing Penn kids for real, yo. Like, my bro came back from his service, and like that was the first person I knew that went to Penn Ken. So like it's real separate for real.
And that's how I feel. I'd be rapping with JKJ, and he says the same thing about the McKeesport campus. It's like a gated community to him. It's like we don't ever see nobody out there. I never ever really talked to anybody from New Ken to ask them if it's the same way out there.
Unless you know someone who goes to Penn State New Ken, you're probably not even gonna really stop by. Like there are sometimes, we play pickup basketball games there. So that was my interaction. I knew a girl out there, and we almost burned down her apartment, but no one in New Ken would have known because no one really associates like that. So nah, it's definitely two separate, isolated things, I'd say.
Is there was there any artists of New Ken before y'all started rapping that like made y'all want to get into rapping more?
This man right here.
Respect.
I remember hearing him and my brother first collab, and honestly, that really inspired me to start recording.
All right, same thing for you,
man. So like, I appreciate that too, by the way. But there are a couple people that like I listened to, and I was like, no, I personally wouldn't do it that way. I don't view hip hop that way, and I'm not a shit talker like that. So I'm not going to name anybody, but I would say that people have shaped how I approach hip hop, and a lot of that has to do with kind of the people who came before me. But I'm sure there are good people though, and I'm just forgetting them right now.
Oh no, just and I like that how you go about that. So I live life that way, where like a lot of people, family members and family friends, will give me their stories and they'll tell me the bad stuff, and I'm like, oh, I don't want to tell you that. I'm like, tell me the bad stuff. Like I'm not gonna. Unless you tell me you did something like you sucked dick for coke, I'm not gonna judge you.
Exactly. and your tone's important too. Now I know. Now with that example, I don't know if your tone could help that, but like, how you say something is just as important as what you say. So I'd like to think that when I say it, it doesn't come off as offensive.
Yeah,
it's the truth.
So no, like I said, I definitely understand. People make mistakes, like you said. You want to do it differently. You learn from the things that you didn't like for people.
Yeah, for sure.
That works. Like I said, some things are good, sometimes are bad. I understand that.
I feel like that shit's kind of on the rise though. Like seeing a lot of newer acts coming up, and especially working with What If Studios over in Springdale.
Hey,
like,
what if?
Ian Patrick Hill, he's the fucking man who will get your sound right. Like, but a lot of cats been over there fucking with him. Like, seeing a lot of new heads really doing that thing out there now.
All right. So tell us about the project, man. I know y'all both have y'all have individual and a group and a together project coming out. Let's hear about that.
Go ahead, sir.
Well, we're both doing like a collaborative effort. Whenever I first started producing, my beats like weren't where I wanted them to be. You know what I mean? And like they were cool to my friends and stuff, but you know when something's hot and when something is just like hot for your friends and things. Mm-hmm. So I really just wanted to work. And so I didn't really release anything over my beats, like a song here or there, but I definitely wanted to rise to what I felt my lyricism was at. So I ended up coming up with the idea of Falling Up, which is my freshman album. However, at that same time, it was highly conceptual. So there were a lot of songs that I wanted to make, a lot of music that I wanted to make that didn't fit on that. So it started with just having a couple of beats that Charley made, a couple of beats that I made, and then we collabed on some beats. And that's our first RA tape. RA stands for Rolling Aces. I also like, the Egyptian god Ra, like Young Gods. I like that whole kind of thing. Not to be a tut. What's that pejorative term for Black people who like are all on Egypt's ass? You know what I'm saying? What's that term? Yeah. Not to be one of those, but yeah, I do. Yeah. Yeah. But nah.
That's definitely what's up.
And so far, like that shit is gonna be extra lit. Like Talk, one of our first collab joints we've already released. Like that's the first taste of that shit for real. So I'm really excited for that joint effort.
So
I was like, no, I know it's maybe asking a lot, but is there any sneak peeks and maybe other, like, is this just strictly you guys, or do you got some like features or something?
Well, there's a third member of the Aces, but he kind of like has his own stuff going on right now. Like life comes at you fast. You know what I'm saying? But Kato is the other member, and so like he'll come by, he'll pop through, he might show up. But in terms of collaborations, Complex. If you guys are familiar with who Complex is,
King of the Berg 2015.
Yeah, he won. We played second at what one King of the Berg. We should have won.
Yeah,
I don't know who.
KOTV
Man, we had a killer set, but there might have been some politics or whatever. But nah. Complex is real dope. He actually has taken me on tour with him, The Hype, and then like we have some songs together. So he's always around. I always tell him too. I'm like, look, man, like you got all these looks, but I'm better than you, bro. And he just laughs it off. Like, I gotta tell him. You gotta tell people. You know what I'm saying? Hip hop isn't a meritocracy. It's about connections. So you gotta let him know. Still sharp and still.
That brings up like okay, he wants to talk like that, and he brings up things that makes you want to push yourself to even get better. Too.
Without a doubt.
Because I mean, like you don't want to just be putting out the same thing, or I mean, I'm not saying that you do. I'm just saying in just general, people are like, oh, that's just the same sound,
for sure.
You know, and you're like, oh wow, like whatevs. And then
that's what got me about their set the other night when we came out and saw them. Was they had a wide-ranging set that flowed. Like you can do a wide-ranging set and have the turn up and the smooth stuff, but you can destroy your chemistry halfway through. Like you go to the jump around, turn up, and then you go straight into like singing smooth jazz, XX on stage and no shoes on.
Protect your neck.
Just go and turn up to a slow.
So
that's true. Thank you.
Like
I think that comes from just being musicians, being able to. I remember I had taken piano lessons for a couple years, and then I had taught myself guitar. But that bass from the piano has allowed me, I feel like, to have kind of like an instinct towards things like cadence and being able to organize your music in a way that people would say it builds or it flows, rises. So thank you for noticing that. That's something that we work on.
Your instrument backgrounds, both of you guys. When it comes to that, was there ever a time where y'all thought that was going to be the mainstay, or even production? Like, was there a point where you thought instruments and production was going to be more of what you wanted to do than the vocals?
Honestly, for me, like, kind of not really, because I like started out just rapping since like high school, and then eventually the producing thing came once I realized that was a way that I could like set myself apart. So really, like doing beats, it's been extremely fun, and just like trying to learn how to just make the craziest combinations possible. But like, I started rapping first, so I can't see myself really not doing both as long as I can.
Okay.
I was raised on like the old school sampling style of producers. So like Ninth Wonder, it's probably one of my favorite producers ever. Obviously, J Dilla, R.I.P. Just a lot of those people who have taken, really great soul songs, really great riffs, and have flipped those vocals or flipped the bass line and made it so different, but still a great callback. So I would say that how I grew up, it was always seamlessly intertwined with vocals and with production, because I never viewed it as two separate things, but facets of one thing.
The one thing that's interesting is you say you play piano and taught yourself guitar. I've heard a lot of people say that there's not a big difference with the idea of like if you can learn one, you can probably learn the other because of the structure of a guitar and piano aren't that different string wise.
Yeah, man, especially if you're just tuning in just a regular ED G. Like if you're in standard tuning, yeah. But I feel like at the same time, when you look at a piano, it just makes sense. Whether it be a half step or a whole step, you can literally see everything as it goes. A guitar is different because the bridge, you're kind of moving in a bunch of different directions. Also, there's the mechanical difference of how you're, working your hands. So like you get calluses from playing guitar.
Right.
I'm sure you can with piano, but that's a lot less likely. So yeah, I would say there's some similarities from a musical theory perspective, but in a functional perspective, you definitely have an adjustment period.
Okay. What do you like using more in your production? Like piano strings, or would you rather use a bass or a regular guitar at that?
I definitely, honestly, especially since I hear Mask Off and a whole bunch of other songs this year, like flutes have been popping. But I've been trying to like find a lot of instruments similar in that sound and just like still have that crazy effect.
Yeah.
But Hell yeah, I feel like that Zaytoven style, that mixing the piano and the strings over those trap style percussion, like I feel like that's just a whole different kind of level.
I mean, when it comes for our rap jury stuff, when we do our reviews, I always tell people I'm a sucker for pianos, good strings, like guitar riffs. Like I'm always a sucker to hear that if it's done right. I don't need like Rebirth.
Yeah.
What was the? I don't know if y'all ever people, but the one that always gets me was the Pusha T Alone in Vegas.
Yeah,
that was always the one. Like I get mad because I've tried to find an instrumental and people just loop it on YouTube, and I can tell that they're looping it because I don't hear the piano.
I need to hear the part that comes in. You don't have it right. Yeah. So like, they don't have the ears for that shit.
So like I spent like 4 years. I gave up, but I spent 4 years looking just to get the beat, just to listen to the beat. Like I'm not out here trying to rap or nothing. I just thought I could listen to the beat and not care.
But I think man, and this is gonna sound like a purist mindset, but I kind of feel like you kind of have to be a fan first, man. Like I feel like it's kind of you got a lot of hubris to come into this and be like, I didn't really look up to any rapper at all. I didn't really enjoy the previous generation. Like that's kind of crazy, man. Like a lot existed before you. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Like I'd like to think I'm a student of the game, so I'm a little biased. Like
for sure. Off the music tip, you guys both into sports?
Yeah.
UFC, that's about it for me.
UFC? Oh, we were talking about that the other day. So how'd you feel about the first time ever 3 titles changed on the same night?
Yo, on point. And one time for the humble people who don't talk shit and just get the business done. GSP is the truth. I could go on. Yeah. Oh, who else? Rose went home too.
Oh my God.
G.I. Jane out here killing stuff.
Wait, so y'all know how to pronounce her name?
I just said Rose.
I actually like seeing that Ultimate Fighter season that she was like on. Like that was like that first female season too. And I remember like she was fine as hell. The whole shaved head maybe slightly different, but
did y'all think that the other woman tapped? Because I've been reading a lot that the other woman said she did not tap. And she was just trying to get off the ground or to get her hand footing or like hands placed. And now she's saying she never tapped.
I mean, I would have tapped.
And then
I don't know. I'll probably have to watch it again.
And then how do y'all feel about? I mean, I know Bisping talks a little bit, but how you feel about the fact that he really he was gonna let himself get choked out. He wasn't gonna tap.
I mean,
he was gonna say night.
That's real, and you could say that's gritty, but like if this was like not in the UFC, like he would have died.
Yeah.
So like you know, that cool. If there are refs there, it's awesome. But if there's not, he's the coolest.
I mean, if there ain't no refs there, even tapping ain't gonna save you.
Nah, for sure. You're right. You're right about that. Anytime someone like kind of ignores self-preservation for like a short-term gain, it kind of makes me question the grittiness to intelligence factor. Like I don't. Big Ben's a perfect example. Sometimes he plays when he's injured to the point where it's kind of detrimental.
Yeah. Shout out to the word self-preservation. I thought I was the only person that be out here using that because people like it's either self-preservation or a business move, but either way, it's like
it sounds like a Diddy bop is necessary.
Like straight up, like some things you do not need to do. Like it's like you got to cross the street crazily. Like I'm just gonna walk down to the crosswalk. It might take me an extra 5 minutes to get across the street, but I ain't gonna get hit.
Yeah, for sure.
On the you was talking about Big Ben. On the other tip, Steelers leading the AFC right now. It's not. They're above the Patriots. They're above a lot of other good teams. And Philly on the other side, running the NFC, it's a Pennsylvania NFL right now.
You know what? That's amazing. But I do have to say that I support Colin Kaepernick, man. People are kneeling for a particular reason. That particular reason is whenever a segment of the population makes a pledge to protect all of the population, but then only enforces that protection on some of the people, and the other half or the other third or the other minority, they get violence instead. That's not okay. And that's what's happening now. And that's what he's speaking out against. So I support that. And I haven't really watched too many games because of that. But, I always support the black and yellow. I also support the Steelers. So,
saying that, I like the fact that you brought that up. So there has been a lot of back and forth about that, especially since, I know you said you guys haven't really been following it, but I would say Malachi calls it the curse of Kaepernick. We've lost a lot of starting quarterbacks this year for this man never to get a job.
It's the new batting curse, bro. That's real. That's real.
And ain't nobody signing this man. Just
the Deshaun Watson.
We can start rumors for a curse, but we can't like start some contract negotiations.
Yeah.
I mean, once Brady falls, that's gonna be a wrap. Like I feel like he's the last bastion. I think. You know
That's the thing. He's on the cover.
He was on the cover, so he's supposed to
like
die.
it's man. It's like, well, what is it? The immovable object versus the unstoppable force. Like I don't know what's gonna happen, man.
And that's what's stopping me. Like literally, the second Brady gets hurt is when I'm like Steelers going like a guaranteed Super Bowl. I already picked them as my Super Bowl pick, but like it's always the Patriots is the issue. I ain't worried about nobody else in the AFC.
Yeah. I mean, he has everyone's number and no one more than us, and that sucks because we're definitely not, you know, some side of the road bums like the Bengals or something.
On top of that, I know like you went follow up much. Have you been following the Martavis Bryant story recently?
Nah.
About him being mad about not being able to play as much as he
Oh man, the whole Juju thing. Yeah. Do you want to say anything?
I actually haven't heard on it. I'm new to this. Go ahead.
Martavis Bryant got benched. He was the 6'5" wide receiver they had from a couple years ago for the 20-year-old Juju Smith-Schuster. And he basically went out and said that he was better than him, and then Juju went out and had like 170 something yards in the game while he was benched.
Yeah.
And then he got so salty about it. It wasn't even like a good game, man. It was just, he's not better than me. It was so spiteful. The man got his bike stolen like the same way. It was it was rough, man.
I didn't hear about that.
You got your teammate. You know,
Shout out to Juju. He got his license the other day. He also got his license. I was happy to be there when he went to the stadium the other day. I actually shot his Mini Cooper video with him doing the Ha Davis impression. So I did shoot that for him. We will link up a little later and get some stuff done with him. But
Martavis Bryant though is fire. Like, don't get me wrong, I love Martavis Bryant. Like, I just don't want to see this be like a Plexico situation. You know what I'm saying? Another tall receiver who's like valuable, but because he's very aware of his value, he kind of doesn't see he's replaceable.
I used this term the other day. I just want to see how y'all react to it. I used it on the show. I said that when it comes to the wide receiving court, Antonio Brown is the suit, and like everybody else in the wide receiver court is like the accessories, including Martavis Bryant. Like he might be the tie, but without Antonio Brown, the tie doesn't have anything. Isn't worth anything.
I mean, that's real. That's real. How many double teams is that man gonna draw? You know what I'm saying? How many times is he gonna leave? You know, these people with single coverage to do the things that they do. No disrespect to the people lining up opposite of Antonio, but nah, man, Antonio is the best.
Right. Actually. Didn't you have an update on the Steelers too, from like a Le'Veon Bell standpoint?
No, Le'Veon Bell's fine. No, I think Martavis Bryant's like fixing up his act. I think he's like trying to. I think he's trying to be good with the team now. So we're seeing what that's gonna be. So
I hope it works out, man. Because like I said, I enjoy him, and I think he could help the team, and has.
So because you brought up Colin Kaepernick, is there anything else in the world that either of you guys would like to get off your chest real quick outside of the Colin Kaepernick situation, or talk about? I don't want to get into our commander in chief or anything like that.
Man.
I mean, I don't want to get into it until we impeach. Like, I don't know why it's taking so long. We ain't got time. Like, we need to hurry up some congressional processes.
It's an ancient system. Let's put it like that.
Hell yeah. So, I mean, there's nothing really for me to elaborate on that personally. Like, I'm not going to sit here and pretend that we have a logical person sitting in office. Like, we don't. The guys over here freaking Twitter beefing with the NFL. Like, I'm not hearing it. Ain't no other president do that. And we just got done with Obama sitting in that chair. So, you know.
I just like how, local elections.
Well, the elections were yesterday.
How come it seems as though the media tends to not cover it as much as the larger one?
Because the 2-year elections are more important than the 4-year elections. If the 2-year elections get the people in office that can the reason Obama couldn't do anything was because that the majority was a Republican while he was president. Meaning that anything he does could be vetoed by the Senate or House while the Republican majority is in the House. And actually, I think the opposite's happening in Trump now. Like, there's more Democrats in the seats, so he can't do much. That's why they can't repeal the Health Care Act.
Rightfully so. Like, you see the shit.
I thought the reason they couldn't repeal the Health Care Act was because they didn't have anything like functioning. Like, I heard even the Republicans were split on it, right?
That was the thing. 4 Republicans voted against it, including John McCain, which I told all y'all. John McCain just ran for president against the wrong person. John McCain, honestly, in the last like 30 years, might have been the best Republican president candidate we've had. It's just the fact that he ran against Obama.
I mean, yeah, I'd probably agree with that, man. That's crazy when you think. I never thought about it that way. You know what's crazy too is how much more likable like these people have become now that Trump's around.
Yeah. It's like y'all might have been bad, but you weren't that bad.
It's like in like a TV show or something. Whenever you're introduced in like the first story arc to like the big bad, and he's crazy. And then like the second story arc of that same show, he becomes like the best friend of, and you know what I'm saying? And now they're just like, oh, look at this bigger, badder person. and
now that you're Vegeta.
Have y'all ever seen the pictures of like, there's like this little thing online of the friendship between Michelle Obama and George W.
I love that.
And it's just like, everybody loves George W. now.
Yeah,
everybody
man.
loves him now. Like,
I think Harold and Kumar had the best take of him, though. I remember it was very popular to call him even. I think I might have got caught up because, you know, that bipartisan thing makes people kind of like clicky, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But I remember thinking like, man, I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
it's cool. I'm organic. That's why it's unfiltered.
Man, yeah, I'm kind of up there. What was I talking about, bro?
But it was pretty much George and Michelle Obama.
You was talking about the Harold and Kumar movie?
Oh yeah, that's what it was, man. So like they got it perfectly with him, man, because he was like just this bro who like didn't want the responsibility, but was kind of thrust into it due to like a dynasty situation. And of course he wasn't gonna look out for the people who he didn't relate to. I mean, it's hard to relate to people who haven't lived the same life experiences as you. And not that I'm writing off the things he did, but you know, when you see someone like Trump who definitely ignores like human rights, when you see someone who does things like callously toss paper towels to the countries that just, you know, were torn apart. Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's it. He should never been able to leave Puerto Rico.
Yeah.
As soon as he started throwing free throws with paper towels, he should have rap.
That was crazy.
You've never been on a basketball court in your life. Why are you doing this? There's no precedent.
Didn't he get rid of Obama's basketball court? I heard like it was rumors that he got rid of the one that was outside the White House.
He's dedicated
But
to
you can
destroying
shoot.
his legacy.
Yeah.
This what 2 years from now? You know, it's killing me that it's only been a year since this man elected. I thought it was like next year is the next election or something. But 3 years, man, it's gonna be the telling tale because
He's not gonna get back. If he makes it out all the way, like at least another year, then I think it's just gonna keep on cruising, unless like real bad shit happens. I mean, like
We said that, and 6,000 some people voted for Hennessy. I'm gonna just say,
yeah, thank you. Yes, it was a bunch.
let's make sure.
I mean,
we
we
take
talk
this
about
serious.
that. Like, I feel like there's a large like disillusionment with the system, man. Like, I feel like you can't discount that. People obviously voted for Trump, but they also kind of just like voted for who gives a fuck. Like, it kind of is kind of like
how many who gives a fuck votes could have been towards somebody else.
for sure,
Mhm.
for sure. What is that term called? Not shameless voters, but it's something along the lines of that. Faithless electors or something like that, where it's like they vote against like the popular wishes. Man, I gotta study on political science.
I've come to
I
terms
gotta
that I feel
study
like a
that.
lot of people in the last probably even 15 or 20 years in these votes have been voting for the person that they just dislike the least.
Yeah.
I don't think people are voting for the person they like anymore. It's just like, well, I happen to not like you that much.
Tribalness is. I was reading an article and they were talking about how people vote according to tribes, and that's why whenever people present facts to you, even if it's something that like would make sense to you otherwise, because it's raised as the opposite to your point, you automatically reject it. So it kind of would explain like the whole bipartisan nature and how cutthroat it's become.
Mm-hmm.
So back over to the, I would say the city. Y'all said y'all from New Canton, but y'all are living in the, I would say the melting pot where.
It's a bunch of Italian people, man. I wouldn't call it a melting
I mean,
pot.
unless y'all like around the corner, in which case, like, you know what I'm saying, let us know.
No, Pittsburgh's still segregated, bro. Pittsburgh is not a melting pot.
Well, like that area, Bloomfield, Lawrenceville, the hippie movement or hipster movement. My bad.
Oh, I would say that's the opposite. I would say that's what's the word?
Hipster, fucking,
Bloomfield's anti-hipster?
No.
They pretty hipster.
No, they're definitely.
But we like right on that hill, like right above the Lawrenceville area where they're like real hipsters.
Oh shit.
So it's like
Lawrence.
Yeah, Bloomfield might be hipster light. Lawrenceville. Lawrenceville's hipster.
That's the city of hipsters right there. The town. But yeah, no.
Gentrification was the word I was looking for. Gentrification. It's the opposite of a melting pot. Because it's more gentrification, we start talking about hipsters. That's where I was going.
Well, no, we are in the middle of that. Like I would say the stretch between Center to Liberty all the way down to Penn is basically the hipster gentrification melting pot, all the way up to Penn Circle. And whatever we're Googling them is that it's definitely a Baker Square. It's definitely a weird transition. I was even being up here, man. Like I guess I hadn't until we got our spot up here. I hadn't been to East Liberty in like 5 years. Man. Coming up here and seeing the towers weren't here.
Yeah.
Like I think we was actually at the red light where the fucking 2 high rises was when I noticed that this was where the high rises was. I'm like, wait, wasn't there like 2 big ass buildings? So no, I definitely see that. Like, and over where y'all is, the new hospitals catch me off guard every time I go to Bloomfield.
yeah, man.
Whenever I first moved to Pittsburgh, I remember I moved in Uptown. You know what I'm saying? Like right at the bottom, obviously right at the top is the Hill District and Sugar Top and all that stuff, right? And this was before, I want to say, what was it, the RICO Act? So like there were prostitutes, like a lot of prostitutes in Uptown. Like the first week we moved in, it was like 2 in the afternoon, 2:30, and there was just a pantsless prostitute walking by, and she was like, "Anyone got a cigarette?" And my boy, now mind you, he was kind of looking scruffy, you know what I'm saying? But he was like, "Yo, I got a black and mild for you," and she was like, "Oh no, I don't smoke that shit."
Damn.
Yeah, this is. It's like the longest left in my mind now. You know what I'm saying? Like, oh, back in my days.
I definitely remember the 90s and like the first time as a child it hit me. It was like, how are these hockey fans getting out of here? Like my brother used to live in the Hill. And I'm just like, it has to be like sketchy if you ain't from town and all you see is these projects right across the street from the hockey arena.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, damn. So, like I said, you guys definitely collaborate on your own projects. Is there anybody in the city that you've seen in concert or even just heard of off of wax that y'all want to work with or like would be excited to work with or produce?
Let me think about it.
I'm definitely gonna do something for Charley Slum. Like extra respect to that man. Ever since I seen what he did with that Upspeed, man, 1,000 Red Roses, that shit was incredibly hard.
It was like well done. Like the visuals, everything. The song was great. Like the whole production, the beat, everything. Like that was great in my eyes. I mean, yeah, it was.
And the speed, man. Like I said, for us, especially because we was there when like at the concert, it was just like just for y'all, like especially for you because you did the beat, but just seeing how quickly it came around, like it was like we were there, and then within the week, it's like, oh, this song's getting done. I'm like, wait, what? Like, it's already done.
Extra post haste.
Who else though? And these guys I'm about to name are gonna like on opposite ends of like the music making spectrum. But I really like Bars Blackman, you know what I'm saying? Shout out to Bars, that's my dude. Shout out to JP. I heard some of their new stuff the other day. Man, you gotta check out their new
BB
stuff.
Guns.
Yeah, their new stuff is dope. Who else? Obviously, What If? As far as Jake Weiser, man, Jake Weiser, my guy, Jake Weiser.
That dude,
super talented guy
on the mic and the camera.
Yeah.
Like,
he has like a Post Malone vibe, but he's kind of like branching off and doing his own thing with it. Yeah, shout out Jake Weiser.
Shout out 068. Speaking of new Ken acts, fucking IB lit. Got some shit cooking with him. Completely crazy. And my boy Tay Edwards over in Cleveland, producer that like taught me, handed me my first MPC and everything. I'm working on some shit with him. But yeah, so far, it's really about.
If you want to still chat about gentrification, do you feel like we always talk about Pittsburgh as the melting pot, but you say that you don't really feel like it is.
I would say that people who talk about Pittsburgh as the melting pot are typically from Pittsburgh.
Okay.
So I feel like there's kind of like a cultural bias in that. Because when you look at it, like I feel like just considering there are still clubs in Pittsburgh right now that don't let Black people in the doors. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? Probably within spitting distance of this building right here.
I can believe that.
So with that being said, man, like it's hard to think of it as a melting pot. Also, when you look at it, you think about it. Oh, the Squirrel Hill. Well, what type of people live in Squirrel Hill? You know what I'm saying? You don't have to say it, but we all know, right? All right. Well, what type of people live in the North Side? You don't got to say it, but we can imagine the type of people living in the North Side, the majority, and that's not a melting pot.
Now, do you think there's like a way to make that, like, you know, like?
Oh yeah. But I feel like we gotta have to address a bunch of issues, like how ghettos became ghettos. We'd have to talk about things like, you know, restrictive covenants. And how redlining exists, and how redlining gave birth to gerrymandering, and how we're still trying to fix gerrymandering right now, but it's creating an issue with representation, especially amongst the Democratic side of things right now. So there's a lot of intersectionality. Like I don't think there's one fix that people are going to be like, all right, we fixed this and now we can see tons of results.
Yeah.
I don't think it's going to be like that, and so I think people are like not eager to try. But
oh no, it's always the old adage, like people that never leave the hood but they're rich.
yeah,
Like you got a devil bag concept. It's like if you're comfortable, there's $100,000 that you can't get a tax write-off for, and it's cool for you.
yeah.
But you go out and buy that $50,000 car, they're gonna come and ask you where you got that $100,000 from, so you can never spend it.
For sure. But I don't mean to that I kind of like went off on a tangent there, but to give you a more direct answer as to how like we can fix this. Man, I feel like an obvious thing is we got to stop having only certain neighborhoods getting these lead advisory warnings in their water. There's only certain neighborhoods getting these warnings. You know what I'm saying? There's only certain types, and it's not high income. And that's interesting. So what are they doing differently? You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
what are these neighborhoods doing differently that we're not here or in this areas that are the north side and places like that?
And as soon as they mention low income areas, the first thing they do is post that the budget is too low for the fixes anyway. So I mean, like the high income areas ain't getting hit, and the only problem is money. Like how is there never any way to deal with the low income areas?
Right. And so, and bro, and then we look at the lead. We look at what lead does to you. You know what I'm saying? Lead like slows the mental function, especially in children. And it can be permanent in children. Humans, like adults, have something that they can fight against it a little bit, but children are very susceptible to it. So what's going to happen? Like you're going to have whole socio-ethnic groups situated in ghettos of the city with IQs 10 to 15 points lower than the people surrounding them. That's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy. Oh, poor people are stupid and that's why they're poor. Well, in another 10, 15 years, that'll definitely be true. It's not true now, that's socioeconomics, but it will be true.
Saying that, I mean, I know it's not Pittsburgh, but you hear about the new Queen Latifah movie where she'll be starring in a movie about getting clean water.
Everyone's seen the meme, right? You guys have all seen the meme. How are you gonna have a movie about getting clean water and they don't have clean water?
Okay, I think I posted the meme and you was like, you liked it. So I know.
Yeah, I saw that and I was like, what? Who's paying for this?
Whoever's paying for the show should be paying for the pipes.
Man,
Every single cent should be going towards that.
man.
It's just really hard to comment on it.
And I love Queen Latifah.
Yeah.
Somebody hit me with the idea that it's supposed to help with the people knowing about it. I guess it's supposed
Raising awareness.
Yeah, it's raising awareness. The movie is supposed to help raise awareness. I guess it's supposed to be a self-fulfilling prophecy.
I mean,
Yeah,
we've raised
man.
awareness for the past 2 years, so by now we're just kind of acknowledging the fact that people have ignored it.
The
Like,
maximum
someone-
number of people have known about this. There's no more people can know.
Like, let's start calling it
Unless you
what it
start
is. It's being
whispering to the
ignored.
babies that are popped out, like, hey, you know about Flint, right?
You know
Like,
you do.
Just keep going. Just keep going.
like, there's no way more people, can know. Most people who can do something know. But it's an extensive process from what I understand. Like digging up like a whole city's worth of pipes, like it's expensive.
Oh, you got to rip up the roads.
Yeah,
Like, I've
yeah.
seen it around where I live at. They've done some pipe work around where I live at before. Like, and the funny part is, especially if you live in Pittsburgh, there's always a road work. Where I live at, it's technically for y'all in the South Hills. Y'all know Lebanon Church Road. At some point, it turns into Curry Hollow. I live there. They repaved the road 2 years ago, and then ripped up all the new pavement because they had to take out pipe. So they basically wasted a bunch of taxpayer money under a year. Like the road was supposed to last like 15 years before they had to redo it again, and they had to physically just re-rip out the road to redo a pipe.
Yes, and And that's when it becomes, it's like, at what point do people start representing dollar signs? Where maybe there are, 50 of those roads now that are placed all around the city that have just been laid that now need to be dug up to fix the pipes in the north side. You know what I'm saying? Right. So now people are like, well, we did just spend all that money, so how much are these people worth to us? Yeah. Like, and that zero-sum game is I think the issue with why the rich are getting richer and the poor are getting poorer in the greatest country in the world.
So before we switch off and do our break, I would like to lead you guys into Who. So this week, because of y'all, and y'all eat differently than the rest of us here, we are doing our first. No.
I don't even know what that is. Like.
The best way I can put this is they care about being healthy. Like that's the best way I can put it.
I ate 2 cups of ramen, so I ain't even like.
I'm trying to figure out where this came from. I ain't McDonald's today.
Okay, well, he likes eating healthy. We over here, I'm living on the edge. We can put it like that. But this will be our first vegan week ever on the show. Usually we just go across the planet and just go eat whatever they want to try to give us from like Indonesia and China and stuff. Even though we do have one of our things are from China, at least by the growth of it. But
no, that's from Belgium, the stuff.
No, I was talking about the Chinese traditional herb superfood that I can't see the name of because it's turned around right now.
Goji berries, right?
Yeah, the goji berries are from China.
Hey.
So, but we about to be so you're not vegan.
No.
So you're vegan.
What?
I thought you were vegan.
So
all right,
let me tell you guys a story, man.
Oh shit, I fucked up.
So my boy hits me up, right? And he's like, hey man, like there's gonna be food. Don't worry, it's gonna be vegan. So in my mind, I'm just like, oh, okay. Well, I'm sure whoever's vegan in the group is gonna appreciate that. I don't know any of them, but I thought it, it's 2017, man.
I'm sorry.
But I'm about that life. So let's go.
Okay, so that was a complete misconception. No, he's allergic to peanuts. Okay. So, all right, full disclaimer, I just figured out what happened. Walkman's producer is a vegan.
Is he?
Hey, peanuts are legumes technically too. They aren't actually tree nuts. It's about how like they sit in the shell and everything. So I'm not allergic to peanuts. I'm allergic to tree nuts, things like walnuts, pistachios, almonds. You know what I'm saying? I let that go a lot of times, but I'm on camera now, so I got to clear it.
That's fine.
No, that's important.
And the allergies are important.
Mm-hmm. That's completely fine because none of us have epithets.
I'm not a vegan.
So
I screwed up.
That's crazy.
But I will fuck some goji berries up. Let's go.
You okay?
So saying that, that's why I love being unfiltered, man. We're always unfiltered. So we're gonna be right back here on Unfiltered, presented by Street Smart Society. If you want to. If you want to hit them up for your graphic arts, graphic design, CD covers, any of that stuff, please hit them up. And again, remember, we give it to you straight, even our fuck ups. We'll be right back here on GMWorldWideRadio.com.